Do you ever have a moment where everything falls apart? That instant when everything you believe to be true and solid simply just goes away? It was an SMS message to me. My phone buzzed as I sat in my kitchen, sipping coffee and browsing aimlessly, like it were just another dull Tuesday. A note from my 10-year husband, Alex. Alex, I want a divorce because I no longer love you. All communications will now be routed through my attorney. That was it. No justification. Don't apologize. Just one text of chilly, intentional detachment. I initially believed it to be a joke. A nasty, sarcastic joke. As I gazed at the computer and waited for the just kidding follow-up, my fingers shook. It never materialized. I gave him a call. No response. I responded to the text. Nothing. A state of confusion gave way to panic and eventually to a furious outburst. And this is how he ends a 10-year marriage? By way of a fucking text? I forced myself to think rather than just react as I inhaled deeply. Perhaps he was experiencing something. Perhaps this was an error. It wasn't just frigid, though, the way he said it. The way he abruptly stopped talking to me and pushed me in the direction of his lawyer. It had been planned. There was a serious problem. I thus gave his attorney a call. A deep professional voice answered the phone after it rang twice. How may I be of use to you? This is David Green. I tried to steady my voice by clearing my throat. It's Kelly, David. I just received a text from Alex stating that he wants a divorce. You're his attorney, correct? Quiet. The pause was too long. A hesitancy. Then a big, piercing exhale. It seemed as though something had gone horribly wrong. Miss S. Carter. He changed his voice. Every word was filled with tension. Are you implying that Alex has filed for divorce already? A shiver went through my body. He asked me that, but why? Shouldn't he be aware already? I took a deep breath. I'm not sure if he has filed yet. I only received a text stating that it was over, and that you are the conduit for all communications. One more pause. Then his voice rose abruptly, piercing and frantic. You fool, Alex, you damn it! He had stopped communicating with me. In the background, he was conversing with someone. The paper shuffled. The floor was scraped by a chair. I felt sick to my stomach. There was a serious problem. David's voice was hurried, frantic, and lower when he spoke again. Pay close attention, Kelly. Have you made any signatures? Do you have any documents? Even though he couldn't see me, I shook my head. No, nothing. Only the text. All right. Don't sign anything. Refuse to accept anything. And for heaven's sake, avoid speaking with Alex. My ears throbbed with my heartbeat. What on earth is happening? On the other end of the line, a door banged. Voices were muffled. Anarchy. Then David spoke quickly and lowered his voice. Your husband has been hiding things from you, and I'm not meant to tell you this. Big secrets. He keeps everything if he files for divorce before you find out. My breathing stopped. What does that mean, exactly? David's sigh was heavy. Look, I have to leave. But pay attention to me. Alex made a huge mistake. You still have a chance to get what you're due if he sent that text before I could complete everything. What do I owe? I made a demand. Then, however, the line died. I stared at the screen in shock as I withdrew the phone from my ear. I had called anticipating legal formalities and possibly a distanced lawyer's icy explanation. However, this? Fear? Secrets? There was more to my marriage than that. It was a trap. And now? Before it was too late, I had to discover exactly what Alex was concealing. I sat there with my knuckles white from holding my phone so tightly. All but one idea was drowned out by the noise of my pulse in my ears. Alex wasn't simply abandoning me, he was taking advantage of me. With shaking hands, I read his text again. It had previously felt like a chilly farewell. Right now? It seemed like a well-planned maneuver. Regarding money, Alex had always been reticent. He managed investments and worked in finance, so I never gave it any thought. It wasn't out of the ordinary. However, I was suddenly doubting everything. By the time I called, David had almost gone into a panic. Have you made any signatures? Avoid speaking with Alex. He retains everything. One thing was implied by that. Alex had a big secret. I required clarification. I required leverage. I also knew just who to call. Lisa. For the past 5 years, Alex has been his assistant. She was essentially in charge of his workplace. She was the only one who knew what he had been up to. Hesitantly, my fingertips lingered over her contact. Despite our lack of intimacy, Lisa had always shown me kindness. I finally pressed the call button. Before she answered, the phone rang twice. Kelly? Startled, she said. I took a deep breath. Hey, Lisa. I apologize for the unexpected call, but did you speak with Alex today? A pause. With caution, then, well, not really. Is everything all right? I gave a trembling breath. He sent me a text. Declared his desire for a divorce? Suddenly, and that his lawyer is now involved in everything. Lisa's breath came in sharply. Oh, it wasn't the response I anticipated. My stomach turned over. Did you not know? Quiet. Then I sensed something was happening. I tightened my hold on the phone. Please, Lisa. I must know the truth, she sighed after hesitating. For weeks, he has been acting strangely, covert. Meetings are over. He began frequently sending money to an account I didn't know. Additionally, last week, she walked away. What? I exerted pressure. One more pause. Then, silently, I heard him conversing with someone. I have no idea who it is. Once she signs, it's all mine, he continued. She won't even be aware of her loss. I went cold. It's all mine after she signs. I felt a chill of realization come over me. This went beyond a simple divorce. Alex was attempting to interrupt me. Something enormous. After hanging up with Lisa, I strode directly to Alex's home office. I was going to uncover whatever he had been concealing. Although Alex still retained tangible files, he kept most of his work on the internet. And the one spot where he kept them? On his desk, there was a locked drawer. Fortunately for me, I was aware of the code. I dropped on my knees, entered the numbers, and click. Sliding open was the drawer. I rummaged through bank statements, legal papers, and folders with trembling hands. Then my fingers went cold. A bank account statement that I was unfamiliar with. $8.6 million remains. I blinked. No. It must have been incorrect. I went back and read it. $8.6 million. What about the account? In Alex's name only. My heart was racing. I turned more pages. There were more secret assets, more transfers. For more than a year, Alex had been transferring funds into this hidden account. All along, he had been preparing for this divorce. Did I sign something too? Everything would have been lost for me. I couldn't help but think of David's response when I called. He had assumed I was already aware that Alex had escaped punishment. However, he hadn't. Not quite yet. I reached for my phone and gazed at the screen. I wasn't phoning Alex this time. I was phoning David again. And now, I was going to hear it all from him. As I glanced at the bank statement, my hands were shaking, and my mind was having trouble processing what I was seeing. $8. $6 million. Over the course of a year, Alex had been transferring money in little increments, keeping that much in a hidden account. He had been planning to cut me off entirely while I had been loving him, trusting him, and creating a life with him. An intense wave of anger swept over me. The treachery, not the money itself, is the reason. Together, we had created this life. I had believed in him when no one else did, and I had supported him when he was nothing. And he was prepared to throw me away as if I were nothing the instant he had had enough. No, not taking place. I clenched my jaw, picked up my phone, and dialed David Green. The first ring caught his attention. He spoke in a strained voice. Kelly. I wasted no time. I was instructed not to sign anything by you. When I called, you went into a panic. I now see why. Quiet. A quick exhale followed. Did you not find it? I clasped my fingers around the phone. Yes, I did find it. The hidden bank account. And there must be more. You had better start talking, David. David let out a sigh. Listen, Kelly, no, you pay attention, I yelled. Alex made an effort to do this in silence. I won't notice, he thought. He was going to leave me nothing. And you were aware the entire time, he muttered a curse. Then, at last, all right. Do you want the truth? Here it is. For more than a year, Alex has been getting ready for this divorce, transferring resources, transferring funds abroad, putting up legal obstacles to prevent you from making any money. I swallowed forcefully, my rage exploding. Why? Instead of stabbing me in the back, why not just be honest? David breathed out slowly. Because he believed you would fight him, and if you engaged in combat, you would prevail. A harsh breath came out of my mouth. So let me guess, I retorted. He intended to drag this out in court until I became weary, agreed to a meager settlement, and left. David paused. That was the strategy. I tightened my jaw. That son of a David went on in a somber tone. Additionally, Kelly. However, he intended to inform the court that the money belonged to him alone, that without your assistance, he earned it. Significance. You had no right to a single dime. Disgust made my stomach turn. Was he going to tell a falsehood? Then, David remained silent. He was not required to. I forced myself to think and let out a quick exhale. Alex believed he was already victorious. He believed I had no idea. Now, though, I was in control now. I inhaled steadily and slowly. With caution, I said, David, you are his attorney. You're telling me this, but why? A sour laugh. Because your spouse is a moron. I was surprised by that. David went on, his tone more acerbic. Kelly, he doesn't pay attention. I told him that this was against the law. I warned him that it would blow up in his face if he found out. Alex, however, believed he was untouchable. I assumed you would simply sign the paperwork and cry for a few weeks. He let out a sigh. I suppose he lost track of his spouse. A slow grin appeared on my lips. I whispered, That's where he made his biggest mistake. David paused. Kelly, I shouldn't say this, but you could ruin him entirely if you play your cards right. I gripped the phone more tightly. Continue. You possess something more powerful than cash. You have evidence. My heartbeat accelerated. The bank records, the moves, the money that was hidden. The judge will see right through him if you bring this up in court. I took a deep breath. Meaning? David lowered his voice. This implies that Alex won't just lose the money. He might be subject to judicial action for financial fraud. Deception. I let the term sink in as I closed my eyes. I had been prepared for an asset battle. However, I never thought this would be this large. My lips formed a slow, deliberate smile. Alex was someone I previously adored, but after all of his actions, I was going to see to it that he covered the cost. I had always played fairly and thought that doing the right thing was important. Now, though, I was prepared to win now. I inhaled deeply before deciding. I wasn't only going to defend my rights. I intended to bury him. My heart was thumping so fiercely that I could feel it in my fingertips as I hung up. Alex's divorce wasn't a surprise to me. For more than a year, he had been preparing this. Transferring funds, setting up legal traps, manipulating the system such that I have nothing left over. He assumed I wouldn't defend myself. He hoped I wouldn't know. However, I now understood everything. Moreover, I wasn't going down easily. I put out the evidence in front of me while seated on Alex's office floor, my hands trembling. Bank transfers, accounts that are offshore, a secret wealth of $8, $6 million. This was more than a simple divorce. This was deception. Alex would try to hide if he discovered that I possessed these materials. I had to be intelligent. To make sure I had duplicates of everything, I reached for my phone and took picture after picture. I then dispatched them to 3 distinct locations: my email, a safe cloud storage system, Lisa. It was Lisa who had alerted me. She might not have fully understood Alex's deceit, but I was aware of one thing. She refused to turn on me. I included a message with the files just in case. Lisa, please hold on to these for me. Please forward them to David Green right once, if something were to happen to me or my access to this material. She responded almost immediately. Lisa, what on earth is this, Kelly? Was this much money hidden by Alex? Me, I agree. I'm going to make sure he covers the cost now. A long silence. Then Lisa, I've got your back no matter what. I let out a slow breath. Excellent. Since I was going to declare war, Alex was lodging at the downtown penthouse owned by his firm. He was avoiding me because he believed that I would be too exhausted and numb to fight by the time I received the formal divorce papers. However, he had misjudged me. I took the bank statements and shoved them into my purse before heading directly to the penthouse. The doorman knew me when I arrived at the building and let me in without a second look. It was a surprise for Alex. I climbed into the elevator, my heart racing. I didn't knock on the door when I got there. He neglected to return the keycard, so I used it. I noticed him as soon as I entered. Sitting on the couch with a drink in hand, he appeared totally at ease, as though he hadn't just attempted to destroy my life. His expression contorted in displeasure at the sight of me. He said, "Kelly," putting down his drink, "why in the world are you here?" I took a step forward and threw the bank statement stack on the table. His face was pale as he looked down at them and then back up at me. "Where did you purchase these?" I folded my arms. "You honestly believed I wouldn't know?" He made a fake laugh. "You don't understand, Kelly." "Oh, I get it exactly," I interrupted. "I realized that you were transferring millions into an account in your name alone while I was being a devoted and caring wife. I know you believed you could get a divorce, leave me with nothing, and get away with it." He tightened his jaw. "You have no business dealing with this." There was no comedy in my laughter. "It's none of my concern. Alex, we're married. That implies that I legally own half of what you own." His gaze grew gloomy. "Not unless I can demonstrate that the funds belong to me alone." I lowered my voice and took a step closer. "When a court sees these, how do you think they will respond?" I gave the papers a tap. "Transfers made when we were married, accounts you didn't reveal, money that you had to split by law." Anger twisted his face. "You don't have evidence that I interrupted him once again. "Yes, I have a lot of evidence. And above all," my lips formed a lazy sneer, "I have David." I noticed terror in his eyes for the first time. He stopped. "David wouldn't." I grinned and said, "Oh, but he did. I was informed of everything by your own attorney. How you intended to tell a falsehood. How did you believe you could continue this in court until I gave up?" Alex balled his hand into a fist. "That fool, that moron is aware of your error. He is also aware that I am legally entitled to half of what you attempted to conceal." He remained silent for a minute, simply gazed at me. Then a smirk curved his lips. "You believe you've triumphed?" He spoke in a hushed voice. "Risky. Kelly, this isn't over." After gathering the documents, I moved back in the direction of the door. "You're correct." My voice was firm, calm, and lethal as I looked him in the eyes. "It's only the beginning." After that, I turned and left him to wallow in the mess he had made. Alex believed he could scare me. "That smirk!" he yelled out. "This isn't over, Kelly," as if I was expected to concede and give in to him. However, he was unaware of something. After all these years, I had changed from the woman he had undervalued. This time, I had everything in mind. I entered David Green's office right away the following morning. He rubbed his temples and looked up from his desk. "Kelly," he sighed, "I expected you to return." A folder fell upon his desk. The evidence filled one. I answered calmly, "You told me I could ruin him. Let's ensure that occurs." David's gaze shifted to the papers. He opened the folder gently, looking through the contents. I saw the hardening of his face. "You've been quite busy." I grinned. "I don't squander time." He exhaled and closed the folder. "All right, I want to make it clear what this entails." He steepled his fingers as he reclined in his chair. "Alex is considering more than just financial loss." I arched an eyebrow. "And?" David spoke with deadly composure. "What if we go to court? He's in serious trouble. In addition to giving you half, the judge will consider his efforts to conceal assets. This implies that he might give you more than 50% in the end." My face broke into a slow smile. "Well done." We filed a motion against Alex that afternoon, not only for divorce, for deception, financial wrongdoing, and deliberate dishonesty. And when did Alex learn? Oh, he went completely crazy. Alex lost it when he learned that I had filed. The initial call was from an unidentified number. I took it up. "You're crazy," his angry voice exploded across the speaker. "How in the hell are you doing this?" I relaxed in my chair, totally at ease. "Hello, Alex. Do you miss me? Did you visit the courts? Do you have a mental illness?" I tapped my fingers on the desk and grinned. "I thought I'd make it official since you wanted everything to go through lawyers." He sounded as though he was having trouble breathing. "You don't know what you're doing." My voice was like ice as I said, "Oh, Alex, I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm taking what's rightfully mine." Quiet. Then he suddenly burst out laughing. A bitter, gloomy chuckle. "You believe you've triumphed? Do you consider this to be only a game?" I cocked my head. "No, Alex. This isn't a game. Justice is served here. How about you? You were the one who played yourself." I ended the call, and we were in court 2 weeks later. Alex had succeeded in locating a lawyer, a cunning, haughty man who obviously believed this would be a simple victory. He was mistaken, because the judge's entire attitude changed when he looked over the bank statements, the transfers, and the concealed accounts. He removed his glasses, narrowed his eyes, and stared directly at Alex. "Mr. Carter, could you please explain why you didn't reveal these assets when you filed for divorce?" Alex moved around in his chair. He stumbled. "Those funds were from before the marriage." David got up. "These transfers started a year ago, Your Honor, well within the union. They are therefore joint assets. Half is due to my client." The magistrate gave a nod. I glanced across to Alex. His jaw was clenched so tightly I feared it may break, and his face looked pallid. He was losing. He was aware of it. The last blow was then administered by David. "Your Honor, we would also like to request punitive damages in light of the intentional attempt to conceal assets." Alex's attorney leapt to his feet. "Rebuttal. Denied," the judge said in a piercing tone. "Final, final." He then looked at Alex. "I am inclined to rule in favor of Miss S. Carter based on the evidence. In addition to getting half of all assets, she is also entitled to a monetary compensation because of the fraud effort." Alex balled his hands into fists. With my heart racing, I watched as the judge handed down his decision. Everything would be lost for Alex. Not half, but more, due to his personal avarice, since he believed he could manipulate me. Now, though, I was victorious. After the court adjourned, I collected my belongings. I heard footsteps behind me as I entered the hallway. "Kelly." Alex's voice sounded raspy. I looked over at him. He had the appearance of someone who had recently realized that he had lost the fight. "Avoid doing this," he whispered. "What you wanted was already yours." I looked at him for a while. Then I murmured, leaning in, "No, Alex. You received what was rightfully yours." His face contorted. I turned to leave after saying that. For good this time. After a month with my head held high and the burden of 10 years of betrayal finally gone, I left that courthouse. Alex? A broken man, he left. For him, the judge's decision had been disastrous. I received more than half of everything. The claims of fraud swung the balance in my favor. Because of the increased settlement, I was walking away with a fortune rather than simply my share. What about Alex? He was leaving empty-handed. The weeks that followed were a spectacle. Word quickly got out. In his world of high finance and power-hungry investors, Alex's defeat was seen as a sign of weakness. Through rumors, I learned that his business had collapsed. Investors withdrew. His clients lost faith in him. His previously prosperous enterprise began to fall apart. He made an effort to remain composed. However, in the end, he was out of money to fight. He was drowning without his fortune, without the hidden money. The last nail in the coffin, too? His apartment had to be sold. He had sneered at me in that exact location, so sure that he had everything under control. Right now, it had vanished. I got one last update from Lisa, who was still at his firm. Alex had a mistress, apparently, had spent years with her, and when the funds were exhausted, she departed from him, blocked his phone number, proceeded to more lucrative prey. For her, Alex had sacrificed everything, and at the end, she left him nothing. Poetic fairness. What about me? Never had life been better. I was able to purchase my ideal house with the settlement. Not a penthouse, not some ostentatious trophy home, something tangible. A serene, lovely location. A place where one felt at home. In years, for the first time, I was liberated. It's time to stop being cautious. I'm done doubting myself. I can stop questioning whether the guy sleeping next to me was lying. I was victorious. Not only the case, not only the cash, but I got my life back. I received a text message one morning while enjoying some coffee on my patio from Alex. I just stared at it for a while, wondering if I should open it at all. Then curiosity triumphed. Alex, shall we speak? I laughed with a sigh. Speak? When he chose to SMS us to dissolve our marriage, where was that energy? He plotted against me for a year, so why was he talking to me? I didn't respond. I typed something brief instead. Me. Not necessary. Everything the first needed to say has already been spoken. Enjoy your life, Alex. Then his number was blocked by me permanently, and suddenly I prevailed.